So what I've got is this little extension here that clips on, and by chance that perfectly matches the original indentation that the gun uses. Yep. So what I'm going to do is put the little spring-loaded button in that piece of brass pipe I've already fixed in there and glued down. I'll put a slightly stronger spring in because I want to make sure this works. So there it is there. Hope you can see that. Right. So what I'm going to do, I've got to work out how to cut a piece of plastic that fits over that. But the thing is, it has to be recessed into that hole. Can't be on top because this is all smooth and I've all matched it up with this. So what I've done, I've put some gum in there and recessed that a bit so I can put it in. But I'm also just decided that, let me just make this clear, to make sure this is strong enough, I'm going to cut this part of this back so it's recessed in there, but it's flush on top of this. This will be cut back a bit and it'll be glued on. Right, so I've got my little piece held in there, and easiest way to do this is work out that, use a clear piece of plastic and just draw the actual shape you've got to fit in. So I've got a reasonably good shape there, and I'll start cutting that out and just fit it when ready. Back soon. Right guys, so I've got my little button in place, and there's the sheet. I've cut it so fine it clicks in there despite all those gaps. And I've cut it really big here because after it's glued then I'll worry about trimming that off because I need something to handle it by. So, time for some acetone and some goo. Now what I've got to be really careful is not to slop any acetone on the button because I don't want that to be glued in place. So I've got my acetone in place. Now I'm just going to put a lump of glue in each side here because couldn't hurt, could it? Well, the whole thing could burst into flames, but I doubt that will happen. Alright, we'll leave that like that. We'll put this in. What I might do is, you won't be able to see this, but I'll get the brush. So the button is still going in and down, and just run it under the underside just to get that whole capillary action thing happen. And by pressing the button down, I'm actually pressing it away from the top edge, so any acetone that does leak down may not cause an issue. My only option is I chuck a bit of tape down the centre, go right across there, and it's going to, and the button still appears to be moving. So this is a case of wait and see what happens when the glue dries. Got to cover up this hole, and man is finding a large bit of Nerf plastic that hasn't got any sort of bend or ridge or moulding on it, murder. However, got this. That's one of the central pivot from a Vulcan tripod, I believe. Whatever it is, I've cut off a little plastic box that was on top, and I've held it over there and roughly drawn in the shape I've got to cut. So I'm going to go and cut that out on the jigsaw, the circular saw, very wide, give it a lot of berth, and then come back, cut and fit. So, back soon. Right guys, welcome back. Having a bit of a think last night. This idea, the combined sniper heavy machine gun idea is okay, but I think it needs more. I thought, and then I came out here this morning. Well, I like the idea of short barrel multi-purpose weapon, and you click on the machine gun barrel. Actually, here's an interesting little point. That screw there was for keeping this aligned with the rest. It just pushes it out a bit. The plastic is actually wearing down the metal, so that shows you how good quality the metal is in those screws. That's pretty cool. So the soldier's on guard. He sees a group of bad guys coming, so he puts his heavy machine gun barrel on, and that little click lock has worked really well. He's got his heavy machine gun barrel, but suddenly the bad guys turn and head the other direction, and then he notices, oh, there's an officer. So what I'll do, and then he decides to put his extended sniper barrel on. Look at that! Isn't that cool? Now the way I did that was simply, bit of mega barrel of course, I got a piece of this PVC pipe, I think it's 20 or 25 mil, not quite sure. Let's have a look. 25 on the outside. Cut another piece about so long, right, compared to what's in there. That piece of pipe goes from that way all the way up to here. And the other piece you can see is there. And that's clipped around. And the reason that's on is it makes this barrel and this barrel nice and tight together, right? And to fill the space at this end, I've taken a little shave of mega barrel and put it in there. You can see it, there's just a little bit unfilled. You just take a cutting off that with a notch out of it, and you can see it's actually flattening the barrel because it's a little too big, but it's not really noticeable. So I'll just fill that with some putty when I get to it. And I'll put another piece in this end here that fits perfectly in that. The end of this is recessed to take the end of that barrel and the shroud, so it just clips together. I've got another little cool little thing. Just a little update on the barrel. I've done some work on it just to make it a bit more interesting. It was just a slip fit, just push fit, but what I've done is put a screw in either side, and now it's a twist and pull. And I've got a little groove in either side that allows it to lock into place, so it's not going to come out if you're running around with it. And it makes it a little bit more professional. Click, click. There we go. And it's nice and straight too. So that's that part of it done. So basically the front end is finished, except for the bipod. Alright, hi guys. I'm just at the end of finishing the barrel area, so that's done. Now I'm sort of at an impasse of what to do next. So I've got all the pieces out like this. I'll put them on the ground, and I've just taken a couple of photos. So they're all at the same distance, so they're all at the same scale. And I'm just going to take this inside, chop it up on my Photoshop, and just put things together, see things how work, give myself an idea of which way to go. So I took my photo, which is down there, just cut the pieces out individually, erase the backgrounds, and I can just then move the individual pieces around, see how they look. Standard gun weapon at top, then we've got fitted with the silencer, fitted with the machine gun barrel, fitted with the extended sniper barrel, grenade launcher. You see how this gives me just idea after idea, and it just saves a whole lot of time out in the shed trying to visualise. This just makes it so much easier. And as I said, it's only taken me, half an hour. Right guys, now where these pins stand up, lucky it's a nice flat surface. So what I've done, I've cut a piece of my plastic, put a hole in it that fits over that pin. So I'm going to put the pin through there, through this plastic, and then the locking support, the spacer on top. Now, because I'm doing that, I've had to cut the spacer down. So I've cut that bit, because what else needs to happen is the screws need a little bit taken off the end, about that much, so because there's going to be one coming from either side. So what I've done, the piece of spacer I cut off the scrap, I've put on the screw as a guide. I'm going to cut that off, then I can unscrew this and that'll clear the threads for me. And then I have to do the same thing to the other one. So then I've got a screw coming from either side. That bolt is also, it's supporting the outside of this, but it's also holding that on, and I'll put some goo and gump on the other side, and we're done. And we'll see what happens, eh? See if I'm a genius. You can always comment down below to think of it if you think I'm a genius. So, as you can see, I've just cut that flush, but as you can see, it looks like it's welded, but when I unscrew that, pull that screw out, it'll just clear the threads. I'll try that now, as long as it's not red hot from the grinding. It probably is, so straight in a little cap of water. Yeah, still moving, still free, and I can actually feel it just grinding a little bit as it comes out. Yeah, and it's actually a bit difficult to get on because of some burrs there, but there we go. That's about 6 revolutions, so that's pretty good. Just tighten it up a bit. Don't use gigantic pliers when you're using small stuff, because you're just imparting too much torque to it. You could strip threads. So, there we go. We've got the plastic beam, the spacer. Now I'm just going to cut the other one, and I'm going to test fit this, because I know I'm going to have to trim that. I can see how much it's sticking out, but that's not a great issue. Same little offcut of spacer put on just so you can clear the burrs. This is a trick you should use when you're cutting any screw at all. Always put the nut on first and then cut the screw to length. Right guys, okay, I've got the pins on and you can see how the white plastic is slightly bowing the edges. So what I've got, just got my mechanical pencil, extended the lead and just ran it along the body. So I've made a couple of marks there, which when we get this off you'll be able to see. Should be able to see those pencil marks there. I certainly hope you can, but you can see it's like at a beveled angle, so I'll just get my Dremel and take a slice off either side. Just real quick, then there's a clean up to come with a bit of a drum sander, but I'm sure that will make it a nice fit. Yep, that's much better. No bow whatsoever. That's my stable rear end once it's all screwed up, which is great. I was just in the process of putting these back supports on when I realised I've got it open. I might as well fix the front support that's going to have the hand grip or interchangeable hand grip or grade launcher, all that sort of thing. So I'm using one of these, which I think is a part off the side of a Vulcan's fore end. And so what I've done, I've ground it, cut it, shaped it so it fits in that slot but around the forward screw hole, so somewhat like that. And simply by holding it next to the gun and judging that line against that line, I can see it's nice and level, so when I stick things on I'm not going to have grenade launchers pointing at the ground like so. Right guys, so there's my little rail, and as you can see it's not straight because it needs to be held up like that. And I've got a problem because I've got a screw right there and I've got a screw in the front that holds on this front door. So I've got to modify this so I can get to that screw, which means what I'm going to do is fill the front portion of it with resin, and when that's nice and hard, cut a channel through there so I can get to that. And that will also allow me to screw a screw straight through there to go miss that screw, miss the front screw and go straight into the battery box. So that'll just hold that up in place. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm finished with that for the moment. Now, we put on the top and fix that. Now, as you can see, I've found some little rubber rings and they go around those spaces quite nicely. Right guys, just fix the top shell with these two little buttons. Like I said, just woodworking stuff. Now, last thing I'm going to do, that's nice and solid, but I want to cover this hole. So what I've done, use my vernier calipers, measured the width of that tube, and it's actually 32.32 or something. So mark that on some graph paper and that fits over nice. That fits over that tube. And I also found another tube. This one is about the same size, so I use that as a template to cut the curve. So now all I have to do is cut a piece of plastic long enough, stick it over and stick it on top. Just a couple little things in the way, just little bits of plastic I just got to quickly cut out. Alright guys, there we go. A little bit of care and attention with the Dremel. Slides right on. And it'll be glued on there onto the yellow top, and then I can take it off and put some reinforcing on the inside. And what I've done is just drawn around on the lower side, seen all the way, so I'm going to cut most of that off and just glue on as little as possible, or, you know, little plastic, so I've got as little plastic as possible to clean off. Right, hi guys, Andy work again. Just back with next bit. So I've glued this on. There's the inside of it. There's nothing there backing it up. It's just glued on this edge. So just to make it stronger, I'm going to do my acetone and Nerf goo thing.